Hey, what up? It's Tampa Brad, back at you with book number 8 of my 20 books for 2020. I don't know why I do a little twitch after I say the number. I feel like I have to hang it in the air like 8. Anyways, book number 8. Oh, by the way, we're kicking it here at Oxford Exchange. Just ate a phenomenal lunch. This place is amazing. I love it. If you're in Tampa, check out Oxford Exchange. 10 out of 10, would recommend. Book number 8. It's the 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. Now, this book was recommended by one of my digital mentors, Max Tornow. If you have not seen him or heard of him, go look him up. He's at Max Tornow, that's Tornow, on all social media, especially Instagram. He's got a really good Instagram feed and a really good YouTube too, actually. He's got 2 YouTube channels. But the reason Max recommended this book is because he is a phenomenal marketer and business person. So he's very good at scaling businesses. And so when I saw that he recommended this book, I was like, okay, I gotta read this book, because I've read a couple other ones that he's recommended, and he always, whenever he recommends a business book in particular, I know that it's gonna be a really high quality book and that I'm gonna get a lot of really valuable golden nuggets out of it. And as expected, this did not disappoint. So 80-20 Sales and Marketing deals with a couple different things. The biggest thing it deals with is what's called the 80-20 principle, or also known as the Pareto principle. And what the Pareto principle is it basically says that 80% of results flow out of 20% of efforts. So this applies to tons, like almost everywhere you look. Anything that scales can have 80-20 applied to it. So if you look at the income of the 7 billion people on Earth, 20% of the people will have 80% of the income. Now, where this gets crazy is when you take 80-20 and you apply it to 80-20, and then you apply it again to 80-20. What I mean by that is, if you take 0.8 times 0.8, it gives you something like 0.64. And if you take 0.2 times 0.2, you get 0.04. And so what that implies is, in a big enough sample size, 4% of the subjects are going to result in 64% of the output. So in terms of income, 4% of the people in the world make 64% of the money in the world. Now you can even take it a step further. If you take 0.2 times 0.2 times 0.2, you get what? 0.008, so almost 1%. If you take 0.8 times 0.8 times 0.8, you get, I believe it's like around 0.5. So what that implies is that 1% of the people in the world, if you're applying it to the world income situation, 1% of the people in the world result in 50% of the output and the income. Think about that for a second. If you have a sample size of 100 people, statistically speaking, one person, and let me step back, and you take all of their income and you put it all together, you make one big pot out of it, one of those 100 people will have contributed half of that money or income or wealth or whatever it is you're measuring. Let that sink in for a second. That's crazy. And this applies in almost any situation you can think of. In fact, the only exception to 80-20 is when it's skewed more like 90-10 or 95-5. That's basically the only exception to 80-20. The only other exception is things that don't scale. It doesn't apply because it doesn't work the same way. Or for anything that scales or anything with a massive sample size, you can apply, you can see, if you pull out enough of the data, you'll see that 80-20 accurately describes the picture. So why is this important? Like, what's the so what here? The so what is that in school, we're taught that there's a bell curve for everything, right? That's the way we're graded, and in college, that's how, if there's a curve on a test, it's adjusted based on the bell curve. It's adjusted where the majority of the people land. It's based on either the median or mean of a sample data set. And so the mindset that puts us in is that the average is what we need to look at. That's what we need to focus on. But what Perry Marshall says in this book, and what other 80-20 authors would say, and I completely agree with this, is if you focus on average, you're going to get average. And that's just not the way the world works. If you look at the world as a whole, things tend to scale exponentially. It's more practical to think of things in terms of scales of 10 than scales of 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's better to think in terms of 10, 20, 40, or 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. If you're thinking in terms of 10 and thinking in terms of scaling, you're actually going to be more in line with the way the world works. So this idea of getting people to think about average, it's not a conspiracy. It's just the way that the education system has dealt with people having varying degrees of ability. But if you think about the person who takes a math test, for example, let's say you have a test in your algebra class and the average score is 72. The max score is a 100 or maybe 105 if you have a bonus question. But the actual score, if you were to predict it out and apply an 80-20 power curve to that sample set of scores, to say it's 30 kids, the average score is 72. What it implies is the top performer, their score actually would have been 200 or 300% on that test. Now, you're probably saying, well, you can't have 200 or 300%, that would totally mess up the grade. But would it? Would it if grades actually reflected the way that real life works? Because in real life, there's not a ceiling. There's not a 100%. Jeff Bezos, because he has made many billions of dollars, he didn't get 100 on the test of life. He got a 20 billion on the test of life, or 200 bill, whatever he's worth, I don't even know these days. He scored that on life. He didn't get 100. So the way that our scoring system in education is set up, the way you're graded or scored, gets you to think of things in terms of having a cap of 100. And that's just not the way the world works in general. So digging into this book is actually extremely important, not just in the sense of being able to make more money or being able to improve your income. It's actually being able to better understand the world. And what flows out of better understanding the world is being less confused when you run into situations that you don't have a model for. That's why I'm so big on things like understanding social dynamics. I think it's extremely important to understand male-female relationships, because if you run into something that doesn't fit your model of the world, the fairy tale Disney princess story that you've been told, it's gonna be very emotionally traumatizing for you. I know that I experienced this, so I don't want the same for you. So that applies in different areas of life. 80-20 is a huge, huge area that you need to study and understand. So kind of the practical takeaways of this book are, one, 80-20 scales, right? So if you think about what you're spending your time doing, there's probably about half of your income or happiness or whatever it is you want, whether you want to be happy, make more money, meet more people, whatever it is, you're probably doing one thing out of the 100 things you could be doing. You're doing one thing that's resulting in 50% of your results. Now, the ironic thing is, the thing you're doing that's resulting in 50% of your results, if you take an unexamined life, if you already live an 80-20 life, you might be better about this. But there's 1% of things that's resulting in 50% of your efforts. You're probably also spending 1% of your time on that for your 50% of your efforts. So think about that. If you take 24 hours, that's, let me do some quick math right here. 24 times, not good at this math in my head. So 1,440 minutes in a day. If you divide that by 100, 14 minutes out of your average day is resulting in half of whatever you're getting out of your life. I'll just sit here while you let that sink in. 14 minutes out of a 24-hour day, resulting in 50% of whatever you're getting out of life. Now, what if you could double that to 28 minutes? That means that you would have the same life, you'd make the same amount of money, and you would just have the same results with whatever you're trying to do, whether it's, meet people or, run a business or whatever it is. 14 minutes per day in an unexamined life. Double to 28, boom. You have the same lifestyle with 28 minutes of effort. This might actually wind up being my book one day. I could see this being a book that I would write because I'm so passionate about this. Once you figure out what works, the only reason that I've ever seen that you would continue to do something that wasn't in that 1%, that's in that 14 minutes a day where you're making 50% of your money, 50% of your happiness, whatever it is, the only reason you would not drill into that is because you give a shit what other people think about you, and you don't want to break from what your parents, what your teachers, what just people around you, your friends, your family, you don't want to offend anyone, and you want to stay safe. The little scared you, go back a couple of videos and watch the Ego is the Enemy video again and dig into that book if you have this issue. That is the only reason I've ever seen that people do not drill into whatever their 80-20 is, whatever that 1% that's giving them 50% of their results. The only reason is because they care what other people think. That cannot be the way you live your life. It cannot. If you live your life that way, and you're one of my subscribers, you watch my videos, or if you're a friend of mine, we need to talk about it. Hit me up on, that's a great lead in. Hit me up on Instagram. I'm at Tampa Brad on Instagram. DM me there. If you want to talk about this, I'll get fired up about this. I'm sure you can tell. This gets me heated. Do not allow thinking about what other people are going to say about you, how it's going to look, what your parents are going to think. Do not let that deter you from drilling into that massive return on investment that you can get by drilling in on the 20% that results in 80% of the effort. Now, I know I've been saying the 1 to 50, but that's the 80-20 squared or cubed or whatever. Drill into your 20% relentlessly without giving a shit what anybody thinks about you. Drill into that 20% and you'll be amazed at what happens to your life. Because what you'll realize is you actually were just getting in your own way the whole time. You actually were just making life and whatever you wanted out of it, making money, making people happy, meeting people, getting new relationships. You're just making it more hard than it has to be. Drill into the 20% that produces 80% of the results, and you'll just be like, why was I not just doing only this the whole time? That's the other thing, is once you figure out the 80-20 of what's producing your results, think about what makes you unhappy or what takes away your results. It's also, the same thing applies in reverse. You knew 80-20 in reverse, it goes both ways. There's 20% of things that you're spending your time on that produce 80% of your unhappiness. There's 20% of your things that you're spending your money on that are eating up 80% of your money. This applies to every single area and aspect of your life. Do not allow the gravity of what I'm saying right now to pass you by. 80-20 is by all means the most important rule and law and principle to live your life by for success that I have ever seen in my life. That's why I actually coach people on 80-20 analysis of their lives. If you want to talk to me about this, hit me up again on Instagram. I'm at Tampa Brad. I would love to talk to you about this. As you can tell, I'm really passionate about it. I'm like twitching here just thinking about the people that I'm talking to about it and how much people's lives can benefit from doing 80-20 analysis of their lives. If you want to be one of those people and you want to work with me directly, send me a message there or leave a comment or email me or something. My email's in my YouTube bio. I would love to talk to you about it, okay? So, dig into this book. 80-20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. You'll be stunned. I'll leave you with this one last tidbit. And this is kind of a practical take-home application. If you're thinking of doing something new, starting a new business venture, trying to be happy in another way, trying just something new, do what's called racking the shotgun first. This is a great takeaway from this book, that if you just take away this one thing, other than all the things I've ranted about so far, if you just take away one thing, think about this. It'll save you a ton of time. Gotta get ready. Do what's called racking the shotgun. Racking the shotgun means you send a signal. In a casino, there's a story about a guy that takes a sawed-off shotgun in his coat and racks it. You know, you pop open the chamber and then snap it shut. It makes a racking sound, a very distinct sound. And a bunch of people turn their heads, but a bunch of people do not. And so what the guy says is he's coaching a younger gambler, a younger poker player, and he says, listen, John, see all the people that turn their heads? Those are the people you do not play poker with, because those are the people who are not distracted, who are focused, and who are aware of their surroundings. Those are not marks. Anybody who didn't turn your head, your point is to get in one-on-one poker situations with those people. What that's called qualifying your leads or qualifying your opportunities. You need to do this in your life. It will save you so much time, effort, heartbreak. If you, let's say for example you sell, a lot of people do sales. Everybody does sales in a way of thinking about it, but some people do sales for an income. If you sell something and you do not rack the shotgun for your leads, you do not qualify people often and early. That's what I say to my sales guys. I say qualify early, qualify often. If you're not doing that, you will be saddened, you will be heartbroken, you will feel discouraged, because you will not sell to people who you are convinced are gonna buy from you if you don't qualify them first. You have to make sure that they fit the characteristics of what a buyer looks like for you. That's racking the shotgun. This applies to sales. This applies to starting a new business venture. This even applies to meeting new people, dating. If people don't meet your criteria for someone you want to date, don't try to go that route with them. Like, what's the point? People change sometimes, but generally, like, people just are who they are, man. Figure out what you want first, and then rack the shotgun, send a signal, disqualify the people who are not going to be compatible with you anyways, because you will save yourself time, effort, energy, and heartbreak. Trust me, I have tried it the other way. If I thought that it would work, I would tell you to do it. I hope you can hear the frustration and pain in my voice, because it's coming deep from within my soul right now. If I thought it would work any other way, I would tell you to do it another way. Disqualify people, okay? You have to do that in order to save time. This also goes to your friends, by the way. If you have friends who are not living the type of lifestyle, and you can tell just off the bat, and there are certain tells, people have different lifestyles. If you have someone whose lifestyle is not gonna be compatible with yours, disqualify them and do not spend time with that person. I know it's harsh, but again, I would not say this if I had not experienced the opposite and seen it not work for me, okay? I want the best for you. I want you to succeed, and we're gonna succeed together, okay? We're on this journey together. I appreciate you being here with me. I'd tell you to subscribe, but if you're listening this far, I know you're already subscribed, so I appreciate you. Thank you for your attention. I'll see you in the next video. This was a long one. I really enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give me some feedback. I would love it, okay? Look forward to hearing from you. See you in the next vid. We're almost done here. We're getting into the top 5 soon. You're gonna love it. See you soon. Peace.